Shruti Mehul, status. स्क्रीन का अरे सर
We have to respond.
Yes, ma'am, we can start.
Okay.
Am I audible?
yes sir
Okay, I'm starting.
okay
We are extremely privileged to have with us Honorable Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Mr. Prakash Javadekar. He highlighted that India has been historically more aware towards nature and its conservation, and emphasized that a holistic assessment should be made, which could provide a comprehensive view of conservation and development. We also heard to Ms. Inger Anderson, Executive Director, UNEP, Mr. Elliot Harris, Chief Economist of the United Nations, and Ms. Elizabeth Maruma Mrema, Executive Secretary, CBD, who recognized the efforts being made by India in combating the environment crisis and complimented the ministry for taking the steps in the right direction to save environment while also considering development. We also heard Mr. Vlad Trushka of the UNFCCC specifying the need for the right statistics for monitoring and assessing the effects of climate change. The use of environment account for policy was endorsed by Professor K. Vijayaraghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor Dr. Sanjay Sanyal, Principal Economic Advisor, Ministry of Finance, Sri Ram Mohan Johri, Director General Office of Controller and Auditor General of India, and Ms. Chavi Jha, Joint Secretary, Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. The need for environment accounts was also endorsed during the panel discussion, which included experts outside the government sector. Apart from the two sessions, we also had focused additional sessions where the agencies involved in compilation of accounts like National Remote Sensing Center, the Forest Survey of India, Soil and Land Use Survey of India, National Biodiversity Authority, Wildlife Institute of India, Water Resource Institute and Wetlands International presented their work in the domain of environmental accounting today morning. The session was rich in content and gave insight into the volume of work being undertaken by the different agencies. The recordings of the live session for both the days are available at NCAVES form.in. Now we move on with the concluding live session of this forum. First and foremost, today we will witness the presence of Honorable Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Sri Babal Supriyo, who will be taking up about the cooperative federalism for improved environmental governance. The Honorable Minister will releasing the report of the pilot study of ecosystem accounting conducted in Karnataka. There will be presentation by Dr. T.V. Ramachandra, Indian Institute of Science, who will be explaining in depth about various nitty-gritties of the pilot study conducted in 8 districts of Karnataka. The report is sure to show the direction for the compilation of whole set of environmental accounts in the states as well as at the national level. The state government in India are also making several efforts to ensure that due to consideration is given to the state environment in the decision making process. As an example, 3 states, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Rajasthan. Okay. The rich decision during the forum have given several ideas for the implementation of SIA framework by India. To look into some more options, we shall be having panel discussion of the topic prospects of for NCA is in India. The eminent panelists include Makato Simju from SIAP, Mr. Atul Bagai, Country Director from UNEP, and Mr. Thomas Daniel Widd from World Bank, Mr. Ashish Kumar, Ex-Director General Mosby and Ex-Director SIAP would be moderating this panel.
Thank you so much, sir, for your introduction to the session. Now we have the privilege to have with us Honorable Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Shri Babal Supriyo. A multi-talented personality, he has held several important portfolios in the Ministry of Urban Development, Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation, Ministry of Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises. He had earlier released the CAG report on natural resource accounting. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has been the prime source of statistics for the compilation of environment accounts. The timely response and the support received by the ministry is overwhelming. Apart from that, the ministry has also taken several initiatives for improving the environmental governance in the country. I request you, sir, to share your views on the role of state governments in the domain of environmental accounting and your opinion on how cooperative federalism can help guide environmental governance in India. Honorable Minister, sir. Shruti, someone from your team might be switched on the screen share. Can you please check? C01 has Crew 01 has shared the screen. Shruti,
Yes, ma'am.
Crew 01 has shared the screen. Can you please ask them to not
Yes,
share?
we'll unshare it. Yes.
Please wait, Minister Sir is coming.
Hello.
Yes, Shruti. Now we have the privilege to have with us Honorable Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Shri Babal Supriyo. A multi-talented personality, Shri Babal Supriyo has held several important portfolios in the Ministry of Urban Development, Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation, Ministry of Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises. He had earlier released the CAG report on natural resource accounting. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has been the prime source of statistics for our compilation of environment accounts. I request you, sir, to kindly share your views on the role of state governments in the domain of environmental accounting and your opinion on how cooperative federalism can help guide environmental governance in India. Over to you, Minister, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, my heartiest congratulations and appreciation to you for having organized this, this NCAVES India Forum today. I think in today's new normal, VCs have become a very integral part of our lives, and I think that VCs often sometimes people don't reach meetings. They don't reach meetings for different reasons. People are absent from meetings or they couldn't make it to meetings. But these VCs, when you hold such forums, the VCs actually reach you wherever you are, even if you're in a car, you're at home, you're not in office, wherever you are. As long as your background is okay, you can still join in and be part of the discussion and enlighten yourself. So my heartiest congratulations to you for having done that. I would like to convey my regards and thank the dignitaries present today. Mr. Peter Johnson, who's the current Director General of NSS MOS PI. Dr. T.V. Ramchandra, former Indian Institute of Science, currently working as the coordinator of Energy and Wetlands Research Group. Additional Secretary, MOEFCC. Mr. Ashish Kumar, who's the director of UN Statistical Institute of India and the Pacific. Renata Desalian, Madam Renata Desalian, who's the UN Resident Coordinator, Humanitarian Coordinator, and UNDP Resident Representative. Mr. Makoto Shimizu, Officer in Charge in SIAP team. Mr. Atul Bagai, Head India, who is the India Country Head, UN Environment. And Mr. Thomas Danielwitz, he's a statistician in the World Bank's Development Data Group. So I welcome all of you in today's forum, in which we are discussing about the importance of cooperative federalism for improved environmental governance. I think that there is a lot that can be read out as a speech from a piece of paper, but I think that India is one country where our Honorable Prime Minister says that apart from being the biggest democracy in the world, we aspire to become the finest democracy in the world. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
From the facial expressions, if I take it as statistics, I feel that a lot of you can't hear me actually. The gentleman on the screen definitely can't hear me. But I'll try to make it easy so that you can hear me, right?
Yes, sir, we
Okay,
can.
I'm not going to say anything starkly remote, which even if you don't hear, you're all enlightened people working in this field. So it's just a privilege that I'm part of today's thing. India to be the finest democracy in the world, I think every day we need to understand the importance of cooperative federalism and how our constitution has actually defined cooperative federalism, and how it can influence and better the environmental governance not only of the country, but also in terms of taking part in the world's endeavor to make our planet a better place. There are a lot of details that has been discussed in the Paris Agreement, and under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, India has played a key role in many spheres to ensure that we set certain benchmark and certain targets for ourselves, and not only make them achievable, but also work towards all of these endeavors happening on the field, actually on ground zero, as we say. So I don't think there is any necessity to tell all of you who are experts in this in terms of what environmental governance is, but I will just read out, or whatever is there in front of my eyes in terms of the concept of environmental governance, which advocates sustainability, which is the utmost requirement in the current scenario. It is almost impossible to visualize the implementation on environmental objectives without the participation of the states. Exactly. I remember that when I was a new minister, absolutely in 2014, in November, the first speech that I got to give was in Vigyan Bhavan. And that was a time I am not from the field of politics. If you know my background, I had nothing to do with politics, and I was a new politician and was made a minister who needed to actually go through certain books to understand the nuances of the constitution, because in civics you don't get to know all of that. And in that particular program, I had, to my understanding, I had said that cooperative federalism is like a three-tier train compartment. The train moves towards a particular destination. Everyone sitting in the train is very sure about the fact that the train starts from Howrah and it is definitely going to end in Delhi. It is not going to deviate and go somewhere else. The goal is very fixed. But the people inside sitting in the train is, if the upper berth is the central government, the middle berth are the state governments, and the lower berth is the urban local bodies or panchayats, the third pillar of the federal structure. And I had said then that no matter if you go and sleep and spend a lot of time in the evening on your upper berth, or if in trains you'll have to actually lift a lever to ensure that the middle berth is in place. They're not there. So you have to create that, and then you sleep in the middle berth. But during the day, you will definitely be at the mercy, or you'll have to all come down and sit in the lower berth, and then talk or get friendly to each other so that you make your journey more enjoyable. But having said all of that, one thing is very sure, that all three of them, while they talk, they know that they're trying to reach a particular destination. The goal is fixed. And why the upper so-called the top layer, the central government and the state government, they need to actually get down and sit on the lower berth, which I had said is the urban local body level, is because the deliverables, what needs to be delivered to reach it to the doorsteps of the people, actually needs to be done by the people who are closer to the people, the officials who are closer to the people, and that is the urban local body or the panchayats. And therefore, urban local bodies or the panchayats, as per our constitution and the way we work, they all work under the state government, under the guidelines set more or less by the state government. So corporate federalism in terms of environment, which is a very important term in today's world, I think that one of the only good things that COVID pandemic has probably given as a solace to mankind is that the entire environment, a reset button has been pressed. The air is cleaner because factories didn't work. A lot of different things contributed towards giving human race, a chance to press that reset button. We are told that, I don't know, it is because of this area, but we are told that the huge hole that we had in the ozone layer, that has slowly become much more smaller. So these things will definitely help our environment, and nothing can really happen if we don't work as a team. And that team in corporate federalism is that of the central government and the state governments. So there are several schemes the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, we have taken up certain endeavors, certain schemes, and we are trying to implement that. Some of them are already in the implementation stages. The National River Conservation Program. Obviously, the river flows through all the states, and therefore, it's it's a very huge responsibility for the states to ensure that the clean Ganga that originates from the north becomes Ramteri Ganga Maili when it tries to go and touch the ocean down under. Conservation of natural resources and ecosystems, the National Afforestation Program and Green India Mission, the National Coastal Management Program, the National Mission on Himalayan Studies under Climate Change Program under the central sector, and centrally sponsored schemes of Government of India. Now, centrally sponsored schemes are schemes which the center sponsors, but then again, the flag of federalism is going to fly high, and goals are going to be achieved only if the states contribute, wholeheartedly towards making the centrally sponsored schemes or the central schemes, or I would say, the roadmap that has been fixed for the entire nation to walk this path of being a team towards the betterment of our planet. These schemes act as measures for conservation of environment and sustainable development of various ecosystems. It goes beyond saying. The ministry also monitors implementation of conventions related to environment. We had the UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. We had the Convention of Biological Diversity, and we had the UN Framework Convention for Climate Change. The ministry is carrying out different varied enabling activities and other obligations that these conventions throw up as challenges to us as a country. And I think that in many ways the federal structure probably makes our entire system not head heavy, but a system where the responsibilities are homogeneously spread during the entire in the entire administration and the people who work towards it. An important example of that is the compensatory afforestation fund management, which we in short known as CAMPA, which has been established for the monitoring, technical assistance, and evaluation of compensatory afforestation activities. That is a very important aspect, and I am proud to say that India is one of those 7, 8, 9 countries in which forest cover has actually increased. We have increased by about 2%. The density of the forest cover may have, may be an area which we need to look at more closely, more responsibly. But I think that as a whole, CAMPA has been of great help to the states. A lot of funds have been given to the states just about a year back in terms of CAMPA, which was stuck for many years. And I would like to congratulate our ministry and everyone who worked towards making these funds available to the states. And we want the states to utilize these funds for undertaking compensatory afforestation, assisted natural regeneration, conservation and protection of forests, infrastructure development, wildlife conservation and protection. So in a nutshell, infrastructure and conservation of environment, both of them need to walk hand in hand and should be in harmony. It has to be a symbiotic relationship and not a parasitic one. So that's exactly what we aspire. And I think in the federal structure, our constitution says that the states and the center, we all stand, and the country can only thrive if all such relationships that are defined under the federal, under the word federal, are symbiotic relationships without any of them bringing any qualities of a parasite in there. So that's the message that I want to give, and I think that all of us together can definitely make, as we say, our motherland, the planet, a better place to live in. That's what I really want to say. And Ministry of Environment is one ministry which is always going to be there for you. Prakash Javadekar ji, my boss, Honorable Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, he being a very senior minister, he wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I, coming from where I come with Bollywood connections, go to sleep at 4 o'clock, which makes our ministry a 24-hour working ministry. He sleeps at 4, I wake up at 4. So someone from the ministry, one of the ministers, is always going to be available. So on that note, I wish you all the very best, and thank you so much for making me a part of today's event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your enriching talk, emphasizing the fact that ministry has been working collaboratively with states and local governments to implement laws that protect environment. We are assured that when all the states work in unison for the betterment of the environment, India would be able to move much faster on the path of sustainable development. Before moving on to our next session, I request Director General Sir, Mr. P, to kindly make an announcement regarding the India EVL tool.
Before I hand over the floor for the audible.
On the screen, I can move.
For other proceedings, I take this opportunity to announce India EVL tool. The tool essentially is lookup tool for environment values arising out of various studies conducted in the country by various agencies. The tool gives snapshot of the values of various ecosystem services, the different states of the country, based on the about 80 studies conducted across the country. An additional benefit of this tool is that it provides a critical view on the literature that is available and the applicability of estimates, especially across India according to biogeographical areas. I would like to conclude my speech with the request to all the researchers and institutions to contribute to increasing the coverage of the tool. Thanks to everyone and my best wishes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Moving forward with our next session, we have Dr. T.V. Ramachandra from Indian Institute of Science with us, who would be sharing the highlights of the pilot study of the 8 districts of Karnataka conducted under the NCAVES India project. Dr. Ramachandra's areas of specialization include a wide variety of environmental related subjects such as renewable energy, integrated energy planning, conservation of terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems, biodiversity, ecology, hydrology linkages, and ecological modeling. I request Dr. Ramachandra to give a snapshot of his very elaborate work. Shriti, can we have the video, please?
Good evening to everyone. Now I will be presenting on the National Chapter Accounting and Valuation of Ecosystem Services in Karnataka State. This project is funded by European Union and is being implemented in collaboration with the United Nations Environment Program and Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation and Government of India. The objective of the study includes compiling the ecosystem extent and condition for the Karnataka State. Then the physical unit, the goods and services, and also the monetary values of the goods and services. Then the final objective is the scenario-based assessment of the policy for policy intervention. This study is implemented for the Karnataka state in India, which is located in southern India. The Karnataka state has 30 districts. For field data collection, we have chosen 10 districts based on agroclimatic zone. From these districts, we have collected the training data for the remote sensing data classification and also the validation of the remote sensing data classified information. Then the information related to the flora and fauna and other details required for accounting. As far as the NCAVES project is concerned, we have followed the SIA, the experimental ecosystem accounting, the template, wherein the ecosystem extends the records, the total area of each ecosystem, which has been done using the temporal remote sensing data. The condition accounts, we have recorded the condition of the ecosystem in terms of the fragmentation of the forest, land surface temperature, the species occurrence in the region in terms of the abundance and diversity. Then we have also done the quantification of the goods and services based on the data available from the various government departments like forest department, the agriculture department. Then the monetary values based on the residual value method, we have done the quantification. Then the thematic accounts, we have chosen we have two high profile themes to define the carbon. We have generated multiple resources rich regions in Karnataka based on the field data and also the data compared from the various other sources. So coming to the ecosystem extent and dynamics, we have used the temporal remote sensing data. The earlier data were downloaded from the public domain, while the latest data pertaining to the 2019, which coincided with our field data collection, was procured from National Remote Sensing Center, Hyderabad. When we look at the analyzed data, it shows that during the 1985 to 2019, there has been a land use changes, which is evident from the evergreen forest, which was 7.4%, has come down to 5.68%. Similarly, if you look at the built up, which was 0.47% in 1985, has become there has been a 533% increase in the built up area in the state, and it is now about 3% in 2019. This gives the transition across the various land use category. In 1985, 14,292 square kilometer was under evergreen forest. Today is about 10,017 square kilometer. This is the closing stock as on 2019. Similarly, if you look at the built up in the region, which was 904 during the 1985, that today it has increased to the 5,724. That means there has been an increase of 533% in the built up areas in the region because of the various infrastructure activities and also the building that has come up in the region. So this gives the transition across the various land use categories as per the NRSC the template. So here it shows the build-up increase in 533%. Similarly, there's a decline of the forest cover to an extent of 29 to 56%. So then this detailed study was done in the 10 districts. I am presenting one of the districts which has a distinction of having the highest forest cover in the country, that is Uttarakhand district. If you look at the temporal remote sensing data, the classified information, it shows that the evergreen forest, which was 67%, today is about 29%. So that the transition is quite evident in the region, which is also evident from this table, which shows that the evergreen forest, which is about the 36,000 hectare, the square kilometer, has come down to there has been a reduction in the evergreen forest, the to 33,000 hectares. So then the condition account, when we look at it, we have analyzed we have used the abiotic ecosystem characteristic, biotic ecosystem characteristic, and also landscape characteristics. So coming to the abiotic characteristics, we have done the forest fragmentation and land surface temperature. Forest fragmentation has been computed using the metrics PF and PFF using the land use data for the period 1985 to 2019, wherein we could identify the interior area and interior forest to the various levels of the fragmented forest, like a patch, transitional, edge, perforated forest. The interior forest, which was about 16% in 1985, has come down to 5.9%. Similarly, there has been an increase in the patch forest, which is 0.65% in 1985, has increased to 1.48%. So that is quite evident. That shows that there is a degradation of the forest in the state. This has impacted the land surface temperature. We can see that the temperature in 2006, which was the maximum temperature in the hot, dry, semi-arid region, which was the 41 degrees Celsius, has increased to 48 degrees in 2018. This has been land surface temperature computation is done using the thermal data available from the remote sensing sensor. So then we have computed the biotic component, the vegetation structure here in terms of the AGB, above ground biomass, as well as the below ground biomass across the three time period, 1985 to 2005 to 2019. Then we have done the abiotic parameter, wherein we have tried to compute the soil health. We have considered both the macronutrient and micronutrients. These are available for the entire state. The detailed data is available at 1,46,000 the locations at the block level, which we have compiled from the various the district, the agriculture department officers, and we have generated a composite matrix based on those macro and micronutrients which indicate the soil health in the state. The red one are the region where the health of the soil is very good, while the green one are the medium, and the blue one are the low quality this one. And similarly, we have also computed the organic, the carbon in the soil, which also indicates the condition of soil in the state. Then we have done the biotic, another parameter, the composition state characteristics based on the species based indicators, wherein we have computed the data related to the flora and fauna. From 10 districts, we have done the detailed field investigation, while the other districts where we have not done the field investigation, we compile the information from the published literature. This gives the Shannon diversity and also the associated the weights for that. Similarly, the fauna, we have done the distribution, gives the endemic as well as the IUCN classification, and we have generated a natural resource rich region in the state based on the aggregation of these parameters like land, ecology, energy, geoclimatic, social variables. So each of the variables at the grid level have been assigned the weights based on their occurrence. So for example, if the forest cover is more than 80%, the weight of 10 is given for the grid. Similarly, other variables, the ranking is done based on the condition of in that respective grid. The aggregation of this helped us in the dividing the state into 4 zones. Natural resource rich regions, 1, which has a very good the resources compared to our NRRZ4, which has the lower the resources in the region, which is because of the degradation of the landscape. Now, then the third objective is compiling the ecosystem services, goods and services in physical units. As far as the forest, the resources are concerned, there are 13 circles in the state. We have collected the data of the provisioning goods in terms of the timber, firewood, sandal, etc., non-timber forest produce from the respective circles in the district. This gives the circles in the state, and these are the physical unit what we have compiled, which is available in the forest department. This gives the distribution of the provisioning goods in terms of the timber, bamboo, cane, and teak. Similarly, non-timber forest producers like cashew, sandal, and honey are presented here. Then we have done the accounting for the provisioning, regulating, and cultural services, where the provision services we have used the residual method, and aggregation of this gives the TESP, total ecosystem services value, or the GEP. Now, as far as the GEP is concerned, we all are aware of GDP, while the GEP accounts is based on the natural capital accounting, which is the aggregated value of the final ecosystem goods and services supplied annually to people in a given region, such as a state or a district. We are trying to compute this for the Karnataka state at the district level. So now let us look at the valuation done for the agriculture goods and the services. The agriculture department at Taluk, the data collection through the interviewing the farmers in the various districts, or the 10 districts in the state was quantified, and both in terms of the physical and monetary value. Then we compile the regulating and physical units, stock in the state, the paddy, maize, rover. These are the average value based on the 4 years, the production values for each district or a taluk. So this gives for the other cereals. Then the pulses in the state. So this gives the other pulses in the state. The aggregating this based on the market minimum support price minus the production cost, we have tried to do the valuation with the data analysis is in progress. Similarly, the regulating services, we have quantification. So the publishing services is based on the MSP and cost, and this gives the share of the agriculture based on the MSP in the GDP in the various districts in the Karnataka state. So this gives the aggregated value in terms of the food, fodder, wood, and the total processing goods. So then we have looked at the regulating ecosystem services, which is based on the biophysical modeling, and also the evaluation using non-market pricing technique and benefit transfer in absence of data. So to allow the model, these are the various literature we have we are referring. So similarly, the cultural ecosystem services, the values are based on field investigation and also on the earlier studies. And we have also used the benefit transfer using the studies in India supplemented by global studies. So the fourth component is the modeling the landscape dynamics. Here we have tried to look at what are the kinds of the transition by the time 2033. We have carried out this modeling using the hybrid fuzzy analytical hierarchical process, AHV based cellular automata and the fuzzy AHV NCA techniques using a temporal remote sensing data. We have done the analysis of the remote sensing data for the period 1985 to 2019. So using that data, we have tried to project what is the likely scenario for the 2033, the business as usual scenario. It assumes that current development will continue and evaluate the various agents responsible for the change and forecast what would be the future landscape status. Similarly, from the policy context, we have looked at the agent-based land use transition scenario, considering the various drivers. And the third scenario is based on the reserve forest protection. If the forests are protected, what is the likely scenario in the state we have tried to analyze? The fourth is the afforestation, considering the afforestation initiative, which is the forest department documents and in consultation. The business as usual scenario, the evergreen forest would be 4.8%, whereas if you protect the forest, it is about 5% is the forest cover. And if you have the implementation of the various infrastructure, the forest will decline to 4.86%. And if we do the afforestation with the infrastructure project, we will still have the forest cover of 5.07%. This kind of in the prudent management of the natural resources in the state. So we also the carbon. This gives the carbon status, which is the ratio that is indicates that these are the region where the higher amount of carbon sequestration happens, and these are the regions where the emissions are higher than the sequestration. So I thank everyone for helping us in this project, the European Union for funding, and we are benefited by the input, the review input from Dr. William, Dr. Bram from the UN, and Dr. Banumati from MOSP, the Government of India. Thank you all.
Undoubtedly aims to set a guide. Aims to set a guide. Aims to set a guide. Aims to for the other states and regions as well. The work indicates the possibility and the feasibility of taking the SIA framework down to the states and those district levels as well. This can actually be very relevant because then we can think of estimation using a bottom-up approach, that is summing the state's estimates to have a national level estimate. Having talked about the states, we have some very important initiative taken by some of the Indian state governments. We will now be having presentations from each one of them to know in detail about their experiences and practices. In this session, we will have presentations by the states of Uttarakhand, Rajasthan and Himachal Pradesh. We have with us Ms. Ansu Singh, DDG, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. We will be joined by Mr. Devinder Singh, Senior Economic Advisor, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change towards the later in the session. I now request Mr. Om Prakash Bhairava, Director and Joint Secretary, Department of Planning, Directorate of Economics and Statistics, Government of Rajasthan. Dr. Bhairava is the nodal person for the environmental accounting in the state. Dr. Bhairava has vast experience related to environmental activities in the state, Rajasthan. He implemented biofuel policy for the government of Rajasthan, especially focused on identification and allotment of waste land to self-help groups and gram panchayats for plantation of jatropha and other such biofuel oil seeds in MG Narega and watershed schemes. He has also implemented joint forest management works through the convergence with Forest Department and MG Narega. With these words, I request Sir to kindly present his views on natural capital accounting in Rajasthan. Over to you, sir.
नमस्कार मैम, सभी को सादर नमस्कार। एनवायरमेंटल अकाउंटिंग में मैम आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
Yes, sir. Sir, please on your video. Switch on your video, sir.
Good evening to everyone. Now I will be presenting on the National Chapter Accounting and Valuation of Ecosystem.
नमस्कार मैम। एनवायरमेंटल अकाउंटिंग पे चूंकि एनकेब्स इंडिया फोरम 2021 पे जो आज का थर्ड डे है, राजस्थान को मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ स्टैटिस्टिक्स एंड प्रोग्राम इम्प्लीमेंटेशन और यूएन के द्वारा जो चांस दिया गया उसके लिए मैं आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। राजस्थान की ओर से मौसपी का ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर और हमारे डीजी सर का सभी हार्दिक अभिनंदन एवं स्वागत करता हूं। मैम एनवायरमेंटल अकाउंटिंग है, राजस्थान में कुछ इनिशिएटिव्स जो पिछले ईयर्स में लिए हैं, काफी मेजर वर्क राजस्थान के द्वारा किया गया है, उसके बारे में मैं एक शॉर्ट प्रेजेंटेशन अभी सबके सामने रखूंगा। राजस्थान में 33 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं और 7 एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव डिविजन्स हैं। राजस्थान की जो स्ट्रेंथ है वो हमारे अराउंड 56% हमारा जो एरिया है उसमें डेजर्ट है, और डेजर्ट चूंकि वाटर स्कार्सिटी है और लो डेंसिटी है, तो डेवलपमेंटल अपने आप में एक चैलेंजिंग इश्यूज हैं डेजर्ट के लिए, लेकिन राजस्थान डेजर्ट के लिए एक स्ट्रेंथ के रूप में भी इम्पोर्टेंट रोल प्ले कर रहा है, जिसमें पेट्रोलियम नेचुरल गैस लिग्नाइट के डिपॉजिट्स हमारे यहाँ काफी मात्रा में है। सब जानते हैं कि हमारे यहाँ बाड़मेर में रिफाइनरी और उससे जो पेट्रोलियम के जो उत्पाद हैं वो बहुतायत में हमारे यहाँ पर अभी निकल रहे हैं। इसी तरीके से जो मेजर हमारी स्ट्रेंथ है वो हाईएस्ट सोलर इंसोलेशन है, ह्यूज सोलर और विंड पावर पोटेंशियल्स है। जो टोटल नेशनल फॉरेस्ट है हमारा, उसका लगभग 4% के करीब राजस्थान कवर करता है। अभी ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर सर ने भी जो हमारी इंटर स्टेट रिवर्स हैं जिनको क्लीन करने के लिए काफी अभी आवश्यकता बताई थी, जिसमें राजस्थान में भी चंबल, तापी और लूनी 3 नदी ऐसी हैं जो हमारी इंटर स्टेट, जिनका बड़ी नदियां हैं, मेजर नदियां हैं, जिनका फ्लो है हमारे यहाँ राजस्थान में होकर। नेचुरल जो हमारे लिए चैलेंजेस हैं, हम लैंड मास में 10.4% है, टोटल जो पॉपुलेशन हमारी 5.7% हम कंट्री की कवर करते हैं, और सबसे ज्यादा जो हमारी चैलेंज है वो है 1.1% केवल हमारा सरफेस वाटर है। लार्ज डेजर्ट है, हिली टेरियन है, लो रेनफॉल है। एनवायरमेंटल अकाउंटिंग में ओवरव्यू जो है, जिसमें हम सोशल, पॉलिटिकल और इकोनॉमिक इश्यूज हैं उसके अराउंड ग्लोबली लेवल पे इसको देखते हैं, जिसमें साउंड वाटर, एयर, डिफोरेस्टेशन और सॉयल इरोजन, ये मेजर राजस्थान से रिलेटेड राजस्थान इससे रिलेटेड और डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज के लिए केवल एनवायरमेंटल अकाउंटिंग के साथ साथ जो इकोनॉमी है उसको बूस्टअप करने के लिए भी उस पर फोकस करने की जो है वो आवश्यकता रहती है। एनवायरमेंटल अकाउंटिंग के ये 6 मेजर कंपोनेंट्स हैं, जिसमें एनवायरमेंटल कंडीशन, क्वालिटी है, रिसोर्स और उसका यूजेज है, रेजिडेंशियल्स हैं, ह्यूमन सेटलमेंट है, एक्सट्रीम इवेंट एंड डिजास्टर्स है, और एनवायरमेंट प्रोटेक्शन मैनेजमेंट एंड रेगुलेशंस हैं। अकाउंटिंग के जो फंक्शनल हैं, दीज आर काफी, इस पे चर्चा ऑलरेडी हो चुकी है, क्योंकि ग्रीन जीडीपी में भी मॉस्पी लेवल पे और स्टेट लेवल पे भी कुछ थॉट प्रोसेस अभी चालू हुआ है, लेकिन आगे भी और काम इस पे किए जाने की अभी काफी आवश्यकता है। राजस्थान के कंसर्न में हम देखते हैं तो हमने ये 5 हमारे कंपोनेंट है जिसपे हमने काम प्रारंभ किया, जिसमें एग्रीकल्चर लैंड है, फिशरीज है, फॉरेस्ट है, मिनरल एंड पेट्रोलियम्स और वाटर। राजस्थान ने एनवायरमेंटल अकाउंटिंग में 1983 में डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एनवायरमेंटल का एस्टेब्लिशमेंट किया। उसके बाद राजस्थान एनवायरमेंटल पॉलिसी हम लेकर आए, जिसमें क्लाइमेट चेंज एजेंडा फॉर राजस्थान CCAR पे काम चालू किया, और विशेष रूप से राजस्थान एनवायरमेंटल मिशन के रूप में हमने कुछ इश्यूज को इमर्ज किया। राजस्थान का एक्शन प्लान और क्लाइमेट चेंज पे 2010 में काम प्रारंभ किया, और अभी लेटेस्ट हमारे ऑनरेबल मुख्यमंत्री जी के इनिशिएशन पर हमने 2019 में एक डायरेक्टरेट ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट एंड क्लाइमेट चेंज एस्टेब्लिश किया है। एनवायरनमेंट से रिलेटेड हम चूंकि लैंड पे और जेट्रोफा पे और वेस्टलैंड पे हमने काम प्रारंभ किया है। राजस्थान में तो 2007 में हमने बायोफ्यूल अथॉरिटी का गठन किया, उसके रेगुलेटरी हमने बनाए हैं। इस तरीके से ये लगभग हमने 15-20 हमारे ऐसे रूल्स, रेगुलेशंस और नोटिफिकेशंस हैं जो डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स जो को कवर करते हैं, चाहे वो वाटर है, एयर है, एनवायरमेंटल इम्पैक्ट है, हमारा जो अरावली जो एरिया है राजस्थान में मेजर, उसके लिए है, फ्लाई एश के लिए है, बायोडाइवर्सिटी के लिए है, सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट के लिए है, बायोमेडिकल वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट के लिए है, प्लास्टिक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट के लिए है, ई वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट के लिए है, कंस्ट्रक्शन एक्टिविटीज के लिए है। उनके लिए हमने इस तरीके के रेगुलेशंस के माध्यम से उसको सेव करने के लिए एक्टिविटी हमारी रहे, लेकिन वो सेव्ड मैनर में हो, और उनके लिए कोई रूल्स, रेगुलेशंस और इंस्ट्रक्शंस स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से रहे। एनवायरनमेंट को एनवायरमेंट एक्टिविटीज को प्रमोट करने के लिए हमने बेस्टोइंग राजीव गांधी पर्यावरण संरक्षण पुरस्कार जो है उसकी प्रारंभ किया है, जो हम वर्ल्ड एनवायरनमेंट डे पे 3 तरीके के पुरस्कार हम इसमें मैम देते हैं, जिसमें इंडिविजुअल्स को, इंस्टीट्यूशंस को और ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को हम इसमें पुरस्कार एवरी ईयर यहाँ देते हैं, ताकि एनवायरनमेंट को प्रमोट करने के लिए जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस काम कर रहे हैं, जो लोग काम कर रहे हैं, ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस काम कर रहे हैं, उनको इसमें मोटिवेशन मिले। ये 7 हमारे की एरियाज हैं जिन पे हमने काम प्रारंभ किया है। वाटर रिसोर्स है, एग्रीकल्चर एनिमल हस्बेंड्री है, फॉरेस्ट्री, बायोडाइवर्सिटी है, ह्यूमन हेल्थ है, एनहांस्ड एनर्जी इफिशिएंसी एंड सोलर एनर्जी, क्योंकि सोलर पे हमारा राजस्थान की पोटेंशियलिटी काफी अच्छी है, अर्बन गवर्नेंस है, सस्टेनेबल हैबिटेट्स है, और स्ट्रेटेजिक नॉलेज फॉर क्लाइमेट चेंज। अभी जो एक्टिविटीज जिन पे मैं थोड़ा फोकस करना चाहूंगा, जो राजस्थान के स्पेसिफिक कंसर्न में ही है, बायोफ्यूल जो है हमारा, फोसिल फ्यूल से हम डाइवर्ट, हमने बायोफ्यूल को किस तरीके से प्रमोट किया है उस पर थोड़ा अपनी बात रखूंगा, सोलर एनर्जी पे रखूंगा, विंड एनर्जी पे, फॉरेस्ट्री, वाटर रिसोर्स और रेनफॉल, क्योंकि ये ऐसे एक्टिविटीज हैं जो हमारे राजस्थान के जो क्लाइमेट है, राजस्थान की जो पोटेंशियलिटी है, राजस्थान की जो चैलेंजेस हैं उसको कवर करती हैं। उसके इर्द गिर्द इन एक्टिविटीज के से उनको कवर किया जा सकता है। हमने 2007 में बायोफ्यूल मिशन बनाया, बायोफ्यूल का एक इंडिपेंडेंट प्राधिकरण का हमने गठन किया, जिसमें हम बायोफ्यूल
सर
जी
सर वी आर रनिंग शॉर्ट ऑफ टाइम, अगर आप थोड़ा सा उसको ब्रीफ में कर दें।
जी 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 थैंक यू। बायोफ्यूल पे मैं जो ट्री वॉर्न सीड्स है, बायोफ्यूल और करंज, चूंकि हमारे जो वेस्टलैंड है वो राजस्थान में ज्योग्राफिकल एरिया के हिसाब से काफी है, तो उसको हमने प्रमोट करने के लिए, जिसमें गवर्नमेंट ने अपना पॉलिसी इंटरवेंशन किया कि जो बायोडीजल है उसको 100% हमने एग्जेम्प्ट किया टैक्स से, वेट से हमने उसको एग्जम्प्ट किया हुआ है ताकि उसको वो प्रमोट हो और ऐसी यूनिटें हमारे यहाँ लगे जो बायोडीजल को प्रमोट करें। और जो जॉइंट फॉरेस्ट मैनेजमेंट कमेटीज हैं उन कमेटीज को हमने प्रमोट किया। कुल मिलाकर हमने मोर देन 40,000 हेक्टेयर वेस्टलैंड को 12 जिलों में डेवलप किया है और लगभग 3.5 लाख के करीब हेक्टेयर हमने जॉइंट फॉरेस्ट मैनेजमेंट कमेटीज के माध्यम से हमने मैनेज किया है, जो काफी एक मेजर क्वांटम हेक्टेयर्स को डेवलप करने की दिशा में राजस्थान का एक कदम है। बायोफ्यूल प्रोसेसिंग हमारे यहाँ, चूंकि राजस्थान में बायोफ्यूल का जो प्रोसेस है वो उदयपुर में RSSMM झामर कोटरा के यहाँ 1 टन पर डे बायोफ्यूल डीजल का जो प्रोडक्शन है उसको हमने सालावास में, जोधपुर में और सांगानेर में इसके जो कंपनीज हैं उनके आउटलेट्स डेवलप किए हैं। और अभी 2019 में हमारे ऑनरेबल CM साहब ने एक मोबाइल आउटलेट बायोफ्यूल का चालू किया है। इसमें 30% के करीब बायोफ्यूल हम ब्लेंड करते हैं। ये बायोफ्यूल का हमारा सीड है। राजस्थान का जो सीड है इसकी जो हाईएस्ट इसमें जो पोटेंशियलिटी है वो है 25% से 41% तक की। तो इस तरीके का ये, और ये जो पौधा है ये हमारा लगभग 25 से 30 फीट तक ये जाता है। करंज का पौधा हमारा लगभग 50 फीट तक जाता है और 50 साल और 80 साल की इनकी, एक बार पौधा लगाने के बाद में 50 और 80 साल तक इसकी लाइफ जो है वो रहती है। और जो वेस्टलैंड है उस पर फार्मर्स को भी अर्निंग ग्रो करने में ये काम आता है। इसी तरीके से बायोमास को, बायोगैस को, प्लांट्स को हमने बायोमास के एनर्जी के रूप में डेवलप किया है। ये जो बायोफ्यूल का प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट है उसकी फोटोग्राफ्स हैं। बायोफ्यूल अथॉरिटी है। सोलर एनर्जी की जहां तक राजस्थान में पोटेंशियलिटी है, जिसमें सोलर का, चूंकि हमारा पूरा जो डेजर्ट का एरिया है उसमें सोलर पोटेंशियलिटी काफी है, जो सोलर वाटर को, पोल्यूशन को भी रोकता है। और कोल, ऑयल और नेचुरल गैस जो हमारे सीमित रिसोर्सेज हैं उनको भी यूज करने पे रिड्यूस करता है। अभी हमारे राजस्थान की जो पोटेंशियलिटी है सोलर में वो 142 गीगावाट हमारे उसकी पोटेंशियलिटी है।
सर रोकना चाहूंगी आपको, लेकिन सर हमारे पास 2 और प्रेजेंटेशन है और टाइम थोड़ा कम है। सो ये वाला प्रेजेंटेशन हम लोग अपलोड कर देंगे अपने वेबसाइट पे, इफ यू डोंट माइंड। We will move on to the next presentation. I'm so sorry to be cutting you like this, but we need to move on, sir. Is that okay with you? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful insight on the work done by the Rajasthan state. I now request Mr. Manoj Kumar Pant, Additional Chief Executive Officer, Department of Planning and Additional Director, DES, Government of Uttarakhand, to share his presentation on the initiatives in the state of Uttarakhand. Mr. Pant has played several important roles in his career as project manager and state unit coordinator in Swajal, and is the nodal officer for state statistical strengthening project and geo-based planning Uttarakhand. Without further ado, I request sir to kindly make his presentation. Sir. Mr. Manoj, are you there, sir? I request sir to kindly make his presentation. Sir. Mr.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You want to share your screen, sir?
Just a minute.
Mr. Om Prakash, sir, can you please stop sharing your screen? Are you able to share your screen, sir? Manoj, sir?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
But I could not
Your
share my screen.
Yes.
I could not share my screen.
Bedwa, sir, can you please stop sharing your screen?
No, it is not my screen.
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
It is not my screen.
Okay.
No. I could not share my screen. Is there? Can you support me?
Yes, sir, we are trying, sir. Sir, can you try once again sharing your screen?
Check. Do you want us to share on your behalf?
This is not my. The Uttarakhand Ecosystem Services. The name of this file is.
Sir, I think you're sharing the wrong file. Can we share on your behalf?
Sure, definitely.
Okay, sir. Give us a second. We are sharing on your behalf, sir.
Sir.
Just a few minutes, sir.
Okay, it is there.
So is this your PPT? Are you able to see that presentation we have shared right now?
No, no, no. No, I could not see.
Is it visible now, sir?
No, still it is not visible.
Yes, now it is.
Yeah, right now. It's okay.
Okay,
It's
sir,
okay.
you just need to give the clue for the next slide. We will switch it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, namaste to all of you. First of all, I welcome all of you in this session. Sorry for this delay due to this technical fault. And I am grateful to the Social Statistics Division and also who has given me this opportunity to put up the Uttarakhand case on forest ecosystem services before the August audience. Thank you, SSG. Thank you very much. So as far as Uttarakhand is concerned, yes, please. It has a great legacy of forest protection and conservation. We all have heard about the Chipko movement, which was started in Uttarakhand during 1970s. It was a people's movement for protecting the forest, for conserving the forest, for managing the forest. Still, people are committed to protecting and conserving their forest through their forest panchayat. Forest panchayat is one of the unique model entire the country in our state, in Uttarakhand. Since 1921, more than 10,000 panchayats are existing in the state. Even though the economic benefits are minimal, but still committed, people are committed to uphold the legacy and the culture of this unique system of forest panchayat. So this is the beauty of, this is the legacy of the Uttarakhand as far as the forest conservation and forest management is concerned. On that line, I would like to talk about the work, what we have done in forest resource accounting in Uttarakhand, what is the methodology, from where we got data, and what are the results. On this, in the similar way, we have also constructed the Sustainable Environment Performance Index. It is one of the effective measures to measure the environmental performance. As you all know, that right now the SDGs planning, implementation, and monitoring are doing by different countries, different states, and they are also developing some indices. Even the Niti Aayog has also released 2 reports on SDGs, and our state has also released district-wise SDG index. And we know environmental sustainability is one of the core component of SDGs. So therefore, the time has come when we have to think about the measurement of the environmental performance. In view of that, we have developed this CEPI. So I would also like to share the methodology and result of CEPI, how we developed it, and would also share some points on gross environmental product. Actually, we are interested to do more work on natural resource accounting. Right now, we have done the forest resource accounting, but more work we are willing to do more work on the natural resource accounting, and wishing to develop the gross environmental product in the line of GDP. So, though it is not comparable, we could not compare GDP versus GEP, but under SIA framework, we can think to develop the GEP also. So, I would also like to shed light on its framework, what we are thinking, and this type of framework we have developed. As far as Uttarakhand economy is concerned, so just you can see, we are a small state. We have 13 districts, having around 54,000 square kilometer area. Out of this, 86% is covered by the hilly region, and total forest area is 71% of the total geographical area. Out of which 45.44% is forest coverage, and more than 95% of the forest coverage is in 11 hill districts. Therefore, is a rich, especially the hilly region is a rich in forest resources. If we see the per capita income, just I am comparing with the forest with the economy. Just if we see the per capita income of the state, we are one of the few states whose per capita income is more than the national average. It is more than 2 lakh. But there are interdiscrepancies, district discrepancies are there, particularly in the economy, as far as the economy is concerned. Just you can see about 50% of GDP is contributed by 2 districts only, with lesser forest density. These districts has a lesser forest density, and remaining 11 districts are contributing a remaining 50% of the GDP. So it is easily understand that the development disability is there in a hilly region. So it is a big challenge. This development disability in hilly region is caused by inadequate infrastructure, is caused by forest conservation due to the NGT issues, due to the many area has already been notified as a eco-sensitive zone. So this is the big challenge. The people who are protecting and conserving the forest and environment are suffering from the economic losses and are compelled to migrate from the hilly region to the other region for seeking the employment and the other means of livelihood. Somehow people are losing the opportunity cost actually, because they are protecting the forest. They can do a lot of work on that area, but they are losing the opportunity cost. So the development disability made us realize to see that how much ecosystem services our forests are generating. Then we conduct this study, and we awarded this study to Indian Institute of Forest Management. One of the Professor Madhu was the lead, lead this study, and completed in 2019. After deliberation with a lot of stakeholders, lot of departments, forest department, water and sanitation departments, tourism department, agriculture department. So we think it is a support for policy planning also. So if we see the forest contribution in the traditional GDP, it is between 1.3 to 2% over the period of time. Right now, 1.39 as far as of 2019-20 estimates is concerned, which is very low in comparison to the forest resources. So now the time has come when we have to come forward for valuation of natural resources. So now I want to share, next please. Now I want to share the methodology, data sources, and result of this pilot study. Okay, next. Next please. We have considered 21 ecosystem services under the 4 categories of Millennium Ecosystem Assessment Framework: the supporting services, regulating services, the provisioning services, and the cultural services. These are divided into flow values and stock values, just you can see. And in addition of this, these values, the flow value and stock values, we have also calculated it as a tangible value, intangible value, direct use value, indirect use value. But we have also developed a linkages account in addition to these values, which are taken in an actual account and potential account. 18 ecosystem services considered into actual accounts, and the stock values considered in a potential accounts. But we have also developed the linkages and use accounts, which is comprising of administrative expenditure, cost of afforestation, ecotourism, research and technology, infrastructure development in the forest, like roads and other things, wildlife management, and so on. On the same line, the cost of restoring forest, whatever cost is incurred for restoring the forest, and how much revenue is generating through the forest, and other expenditure incurred were also taken into consideration. So this is the major value and accounts which we have done in our study. Next, please. Now you can see the ecosystem service framework. So this is the framework where 21 ecosystem services has been taken. And earlier slide, please. Just you can see we have identified the different indicators. Earlier, not back. Previous slide, please. We have identified different indicators for particular ecosystem services. Like for timber, the biomass is one of the indicators. Extraction is the indicator for the fuel wood services, for the NWFP services. So many indicators we have identified, like a carbon stocks, the extraction, revenue receipt, forest area, erosion prevented, cultural richness, and so on. And similarly, for quantification process were also discussed for the various indicators, because it is required. Without it, we could not be. It is not possible to quantify the whole things. So these are consumption value, the production value, quantity source, and so on. And finally, focus on the valuation method and business.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, can you please wind up your presentation in 2 to 3 minutes? We are running short of time.
Definitely. You have given me 15 minutes. Just I will. I think 5 minutes has been completed. Just 5 minutes I will also take.
Thank you, sir.
So we have used the rates and ratio of different. Secondary data is used there. Mostly the data from the FSI study, from FRI study, from the Costanja study. Different studies we have taken. The rates and ratio and other relevant values we have taken for calculating these results. So data availability and accessibility is a big challenge. But I think we have to practice to collect and collate and compile the natural resource data. So we have taken the secondary data, and this is the value. Just you can see these are the values. 95,000 crore flow value are there. And next slide, please. And 50 lakh crore stock value is also there. So these are the conservative estimates, and it might be go up to 10 to 15%. If we compare these values with the state GDP, so it is not comparable, as I have already mentioned. But for the sake of idea, just how much ecosystem services we are providing in comparison to the GDP, just you can see the stock value is about 6.5 times of the state GDP. And total flow value is 43% of the present state GDP. Even the contribution of forest and logging flow value is much higher than the traditional GDP. So this is all about the forest resource. Now I would like to talk on SEPI, Sustainable Environmental Performance Index, which we developed. As I have already mentioned, the time has come when we have to measure the environmental performance. So eight major sectors we have taken: the forest and biodiversity, water sanitation, energy, under which the NPK consumption and pesticides used, and such type of indicators we have. We have taken 10 SDGs and 29 targets with 77 indicators for constructing this CEPI. So this is the unique thing which we have developed to construct this CEPI. And for identifying the indicators, the DIPSR framework we have used, and for assigning the weights, an analytic hierarchy process we have used. This is a group convergence method. And now we normalize the indicators. And finally, we got the result. Next, please. So this is the weights. The first 26% weights was assigned to the forest and biodiversity, and followed by the human and health and energy and so on. And these weights has also divided into the indicators weights. A lot of indicators are 77 indicators have been identified. For forest and biodiversity 15 indicators are there. For water and sanitation 7 indicators are there. And finally, next please. This is the result. So just you can see the Sustainable Environmental Performance Index in 2016 is 97.05. It is reduced if we compare with the base year 2015-16. So what is the reason? This can help identify the particular cause of hindrance of this performance. For example, under disaster risk and vulnerability, just subsector index is 56.82%. 56 is too low. It means some indicators are not performing well. Therefore, we can identify the particular indicators and make the planning and policy intervention to improve the progress of this indicator. So I think this is the best tool for decision making and monitoring. And NSO should, I request to NSO should come forward for constructing this such type of indicator sub-national wise. So finally, I want to share the GEP framework. It is nothing. It is just we are planning to do more work, as I have already mentioned. Right now we have done this forest resource accounting. Now we are planning to do more on biodiversity side, the land account we want to make, water, glaciers, energy, such type of all the natural resources we are willing to do more work on it. And we welcome to research institutions, national and international agencies, individual experts to provide the technical support to us for this venture. So thank you very much. Looking forward a step ahead towards valuation of ecosystem services. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We are indeed privileged to listen to some of the very important facts in respect of the state of Uttarakhand. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Haripriya, Professor from Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai, who on behalf of the State Directorate of Economics and Statistics, Himachal Pradesh, will be presenting the environment valuation method experimented in a district of Himachal Pradesh. Over to you, ma'am.
Sorry, am I audible? Thank you very much for this.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, thanks so much. I'm here presenting the natural capital accounting experience from the state of Himachal Pradesh. I'm doing this presentation on behalf of the government of Himachal Pradesh. Now, we all know where Himachal is, and Himachal has been at the forefront in the natural resources accounting. And it has got immense health of natural resources and biodiversity. And we all know that it's the most ecologically fragile areas of India. Forest actually legally comprises 66% of the geographical area. But given that it is a hilly state, we need to understand that the 2-dimensional area and the 3-dimensional area are vastly different. That's what I showed here. And the state contributes not only to sustain the life support systems of local economy, but they also contribute to the national economy. The state depends directly or indirectly on the forest goods and services. That's basically the reason why Himachal has to be doing the natural resources accounting. If you look at the growth performance of the Himachal, if you just see the Himachal economy has been doing extremely good. The GDP has been growing and on an average at 6% and per annum. Now the question here is that growth sustainable or is that coming at the cost of the environment? Because Himachal has got a lot to lose if it doesn't manage its natural resources well. So we identified the priorities and challenges faced by the Himachal Pradesh. The challenge of Himachal Pradesh is to utilize its unique resource endorsement, for example, the hydropower, which can be extremely environmentally damaging, but at the same time also like promote economic social development and poverty eradication through the ecotourism and maintain the ecological balance because it has got rich natural resource space. So we need to understand that hydropower cannot ignore the source management of water resources, and any reduction in water flow would have high environmental footprint and then leads to conversion of dams and infrastructure. And then the tourism sector is also dominated by nature tourism, and so it also has high environmental footprint, and destruction could also impact the economy. And the ecological balance would also be disturbed because 60% of the area is in the forest and climate change can be a potential threat. So we looked at various policy priorities of the state, like the hydropower policy, the tourism policy, sustainable forest management plans, environment master plans, etc. And then we felt that the natural resource accounting is a way to actually address, to see whether the policy priorities of the state are on track or not. So we have had a long journey with the government of Himachal Pradesh. First, we tried to do a scoping study to build forest accounts, and that was carried out in 2013 by the World Bank as a part of the development policy loan. So then we conducted a feasible study, and then the feasibility study concluded that NCA is a way to go to assess the sustainability of various sectors. And then the next phase, we tried to operationalize for one district in Himachal, that is Mandi. The objectives are to basically compile forest accounts, given that Himachal is extremely dependent on the forest resources and they are all interrelated, ecotourism, forest, and the hydropower. So we decided to compile forest accounts for one district using the SIA central framework and for one district, and then we wanted to suggest ways to scale it up. So we asked the following questions. What is the forest wealth of Himachal Pradesh? We try to compile both physical and monetary stock of timber and NCAVES and minor forest products as well as carbon, etc. What is the contribution of NCAVES to the state of GDP? What is the value of forest ecosystem services to the hydropower sector and how can these be optimized? And what is the contribution of forest to tourism sector in the state and how these can be increased sustainably? These are basically the policy questions we wanted to answer through development of the forest accounts. We have, as I mentioned, we have had a long process. An intergovernmental steering committee has been set up with overall oversight function for implementing and supporting the data collection. Then academic expert from IIT Bombay has provided the technical advice. Then training workshops were held for the steering committee members as well as the forest officials. The policy priorities of the state and the data needs were identified, and then the officials were entrusted with the job of collecting the information. That's the reason why I'm here to present the study on behalf of the government of Himachal. So we identify different pathways for developing physical accounts for the selected assets. That's the forest resources. We develop the forest timber asset accounts, forest NTFP asset accounts, carbon accounts, ecosystem accounts, ecotourism accounts, forest timber asset accounts. So there is a reason why each and every account is supposed to address some policy issues. We have identified the policy issues and the key stakeholders who would actually benefit out of these accounts. So this is the broad framework we had followed. We use the SIA central framework wherein we look at the physical flows between environment and economy. Then that leads to that means we have to build the stocks of environmental assets and changes in the stocks, sequence of environmental accounts that highlight depletion adjusted aggregates, economic activities and transactions related to environment. These are the ones which have been listed in the SIA central framework. We have used the exact same framework. And we also aimed to construct the experimental ecosystem accounts, though it was not fulfilled at this in the phase 1, but it was meant to be done in phase 2. Just a question on whether HP state income accounts capture the economic contribution of forests. We looked at what did they contribute, what did they add, and what they did not consider. We looked at industrial wood, for example, is a provisioning service, but its depletion of forests is not included in net value added or net domestic product. Fuel wood and charcoal, it is underestimated, and NSS consumption expenditure surveys are done every 5 years, and so they are grossly underestimated. Then we looked at the minor forest products. The production estimate from the HP State Forest Corporation have been considered, and they are also underestimated. And other MFPs are also underestimated because they included only the royalty values. Similarly, other forest services like the livestock grazing, pollination, recreation and tourism, carbon storage, etc., they're all either omitted or attributed to other sectors, like, for example, agriculture, trade, hotel and restaurants, etc. So that shows that we need to really work on along the CR Central framework to be able to give forests its right value and also show them properly in the national accounting system. So finally, what the accounts we constructed were the area asset statements, the volume asset statements, monetary asset statements, physical supply use statements, and monetary supply use statements. So this is a forest cover in Himachal in various districts. And you know why we chose Mandi. Mandi is not only because it's rich in forest cover, but also because of other reasons regarding the recorded forest area and the other aspects, legal aspects. So this is a framework we have used for accounting, which is the opening stocks, and then the reasons for changes between the stocks. And then the detailed components for area and volume accounts have been constructed. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Ma'am, we are running short of time. So
yes. Yeah. But I'm just coming to the crux of it very soon. Yeah. So these are the physical area accounts for forest resources. So we constructed these for various divisions. Similarly, we have constructed the volume accounts for 2007 and 13 for various divisions of Mandi. Then if we just look at the valuation, there is a lot of difference between the royalty values and the actual sales realized for various important species. So we identified what are these differences for various species which has to be rightly accounted for. And then, as I mentioned, because NTFPs are grossly undervalued, we surveyed around 120 villages and we collected data around 5,146 households in Mandi districts. And then, so we found 79% of the households collected some forest products from the wild. And so 50% of the income of these households are involved in the collection coming from the fuel wood and NTFPs. So we identify the purpose and source of collection of the most important forest products in the surveyed villages. And we looked at how much is the quantity collected and how much of that is used for self-consumption. So what is the subsistence value of products per hectare per year in Mandi is, again, we estimated so that we can adjust the national accounts. And then using this information for the timber and NTFPs, we have developed monetary asset accounts of timber using net price method, as well as using the net present value method. So in addition, we, as I mentioned, our main is to initial accounting system primarily looks at constructing this physical supply use tables. So we constructed the physical supply use tables for Mandi district. We have the supply tables. You can see the total supply and by output by industries, where are that's and the type of product which is supplied. So we have got these detailed accounts, and we also constructed the use table. This is the supply table and this is the use table. So we have got household consumption, how much is the intermediate use, how much is the capital formation, how much of it is exported, etc. So we have the total use tables, which have been monetarized. So this is monetary supply use table for NTFPs. And that's how we came up with some value of the total NTFP supply and use. And then we tried to adjust that within the national accounting system. But then I'm not showing that values over here because that involved a little bit more exercise. Yes, the key lessons learned is that, yes, there are several data limitations which if improved can lead to better estimates. Like there are several issues to be resolved, like trees out of forest volume estimates, which includes greenwash areas. Then we also need to have more district level estimates. There's substantial under-reporting of the value of fuel wood and NTFPs. Then we also need to understand there are trade-offs between NTFP value and the timber values. The importance of developing the supply use tables for accurate adjustments of the national accounting aggregates is required and is possible, is what our experience had showed. And yes, we also dealt with various major data limitations and which can provide meaningful pathways for scaling up. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure all these presentations have provided a lot of insights into the enormous scope of work that can be undertaken in the country. We are now assured that much of the awareness and the sensitization have already seeped into the states and the district levels of India, which indeed is a positive step in our endeavor towards compiling the complete set of environmental accounts for the nation. In these unprecedented times, it is important that we realize the enormity of the nature and start nurturing nature. It is only by making peace with nature we can try and develop a formula for sustainable growth and development. To talk about the natural capital accounting by the United Nations in India, we are delighted to have with us this afternoon Ms. Renata Desillian, who has served the United Nations for 30 years in Africa and Asia in many capacities, including 15 years as a UN resident coordinator, humanitarian coordinator, and UNDP resident representative. She also served in various capacities with the UN in Mali, Laos, and in New York, making important contributions in the field of good governance and poverty reduction. Ms. Renata and her team have also been active partners in MOSP's activities towards monitoring the progress made by India on the Sustainable Development Goals. We are honored to hear from Ms. Renata on the activities of UN in India, which could be capitalized by MOSP for furthering the activity of environmental accounting. Ma'am. Can we have the video, please?
Esteemed representatives of the Government of India, distinguished guests, UN colleagues and partners, a very good afternoon to you all. In a world where the dominant measure of wealth is capital, we completely miss the value of other essential elements of human and planetary well-being, notably the value of nature and the natural environment, the value of social relationships, of spiritual well-being, and other things. So I couldn't be more delighted to join you all this afternoon in this work on developing natural capital accounting and valuation of ecosystem services. I'd like to extend a special thanks to the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation for convening this important forum, and to the UN Statistics Division, the European Union, and the UN Environment for their support to the NCAVES project in India. This project aims not only to measure India's abundant biodiversity and ecosystem services down to the subnational level, but also to help mainstream these natural accounts into policy. In 2018, India published its first environmental economic accounts. They told us that in many cases, natural assets had seen a positive net increase. But it also revealed evidence of climate change, such as the shrinking of glaciers, and it alerted us to declines in forest cover in some of the states. It also mapped the impact of India's urbanization. 40% of India, 600 million people, will be urban dwellers by the year 2030. This means that up to 800 million square meters of new urban space will need to be added annually. This underscores the imperative that we be mindful of the impact of our human progress on the natural environment and nature's ecosystems. Natural capital underpins the achievement of the full array of the Sustainable Development Goals. India was one of the first countries in the world to track its progress on the SDGs at the subnational level. Natural capital accounts at the subnational and state level can strengthen SDG monitoring and, of course, their achievement. I'm delighted that as follow-up to the work under NCAVES, a pilot in Karnataka is underway to develop a full suite of ecosystem accounts and a policy scenario analysis of land use planning. We look forward very much to learning the results of this pilot and how it can be used for policy making more broadly. As the world struggles to respond to COVID-19, nature must be at the heart of our global recovery, in the same breath as saving human lives. It is, after all, our disregard for and disrespect of nature and the natural environment that facilitated the emergence of the pandemic in the first place. So as we rebuild economies and the lives of 150 million people who've been pushed into poverty by COVID-19, the new normal asks us to plan better with improved measures for our collective welfare that recognizes the imperative of striking a healthy balance between human progress and the well-being of the natural environment. I look forward very much to working with the Government of India and especially the Ministry of Statistics towards building back better in India. India is one of the most resplendent and natural wealth-rich countries in the world. Let's keep it that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Renata. You rightly pointed out the importance of measuring the human and the planetary well-being in addition to measuring capitals, because it is only by mainstreaming natural accounts in policy the concepts of holistic growth or development can be concretized. The natural capital accounting in India is in its very inception stage, and there are enormous scopes to amplify its ambit. This takes us to the next panel discussion on the topic of prospects of NCA in India. The moderator of the session is Mr. Ashish Kumar, ex-DG MOSPI and Director, United Nations Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific. He is the man who has been instrumental in the development of curricula in UNCAP for several newly emerging areas like the SDGs, climate change related statistics, and use of ICTs and big data for official statistics. Prior to his joining UNCAP, he was in charge of several initiatives taken by the MOSPI, Government of India. The most notable one being the constitution of expert group under Professor Sir Partha Das Gupta on the Green National Accounts in India. Sir, we are extremely delighted to have you amongst us. Among the panelists, we have Mr. Makoto Shimizu from CIAP, Mr. Atul Bagai, Country Director UNEP, and Mr. Thomas Danielewicz, World Bank. They will be discussing about the various initiatives taken by the respective agencies in the context of natural capital accounting. With these words, I hand over the session to Mr. Ashish Kumar, Director UNCAP. Over to you, sir.
I'm very glad to be here in this session. Prospects natural capital accounting in India. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, go ahead. That's the participation in the project, very important project of NCAVES, by the Government of India and the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, has helped the country bring out a number of environment accounts, following the UN system of economic environment accounts framework. Now, number of publications India has brought out, I understand, under the NV Stats India, right from 2018, 19. They're preparing for the next. We know that the scope of environmental accounts is enormous, and especially in India, it's a challenge when there is a need for a lot more data in each sector. But we are looking forward that with the project which is supported by European Union, India will come out with all its accounts during the course of next. In discussions earlier, there has been suggestions that India should prioritizing some of the items, some of the accounts which it should give high value and so I develop a concrete plans, and this requires a lot of clear things. I understand the Ministry of Statistics has already made up their mind to come out with some such by, and I have a distinguished panel here with me. We have Atul. He is the United Nations Environment Program in India. From 2016, Mr. Bagai has decisively led to fulfill NEPs in India. Has completed important assignments across Southeast Asia and also in the Pacific Islands. We look forward to hearing from him. His should focus in short term. Mr. Bagai, please. Can you unmute yourself?
I think, yeah, now I've got the rights to unmute. Thank you. Can you hear me now? Okay. Thanks a lot, Ashishji, and thanks to MOSPI for inviting UNEP for this very important panel. And UNEP is very proud to be associated with UNST and with MOSPI on this NCAVES project for the last 2.5 to 3 years. And in fact, our office in India is a very new one. It was set up about 3.5 years back. And when I joined UNEP in 2018, early 2018, the very first mission that I received was the UNST UNEP mission on NCAVES. And that's when the project was starting in India. And I'm very happy that after almost 3 years, we've progressed quite substantially in this regard, and also the fact that we have organized such a big forum, and I'm very thankful to MOSPI for that. I'll very quickly talk about what UNEP has been doing in this field in India and what are our plans in the coming years to support MOSPI in this regard and in this very, very important area of work. Next slide. I'm very thankful to Bhanumati ji for helping me run the slides. I hope you can see the slides. Bhanumati ji, if we could go on the next slide, which is the UNEP engagement on natural capital accounting in India. As I said, we started the work with UNST in India in this regard, and we also in 2018 brought out in consultation with the Ministry of Finance a report on natural capital of India accounting for achieving SDGs, and this was a report that was developed on the advice of the economic advisor. And as a follow-up to that, we also organized a side event during the World Environment Day 2018 on this issue. We've also done a series of webinars during last year on investing in nature to build back better. And one of the constant running themes through was the significance of natural capital accounting. UNEP also did, along with the Boston University, research on air pollution in India, impact on environmental burden of disease, the economy and human capital, and a lot of aspects of natural capital were woven into this research paper. Some of the recent projects on which we are also integrating the work on natural capital accounting is our Team Agri-Food project, about which I will talk a little later, and mainstreaming of NC values for sustainable economic growth in Indian coastal districts. And I'll talk about this project next. Anumati ji, next. We've been working very closely with the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change over the last 2 years to develop a project concept for JEF funding. And I wanted to share the fact that the JEF Secretariat has cleared this project and we are now at a stage in 2021. Very soon we would be starting building this project for funding. The project is called Mainstreaming Natural Capital Values into Planning and Implementation for Sustainable Blue Economic Growth in Indian Coastal Districts. The executing agencies for this project are the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, the Ministry of Shipping and the Ministry of Finance. And we would be looking at Karnataka and Kerala state governments for the coastal districts in this regard. Wetlands International also is going to be one of our partners in this project. At present, this project is for a value of 3.05 million JEF grant plus about 16 million co-financing with a duration of 5 years. And the project objective is to enhance biodiversity conservation and environmental sustainability of critical coastal landscapes in India by integrating natural capital and ecosystem services values in district level blue economy strategy and spatial planning processes and coastal sector operations. Next. In fact, we are very excited with this project also because of the fact that this is a project that would look at natural capital accounting and also at capacity building at the district level. I heard one of the previous speakers in the last panel talking about the work they were doing in Mandi, and that's work that we'll find very useful for the work which we are going to start under this project. And the idea is to build district level expertise and capacity on natural capital accounting, and this is something that will help in understanding also the on-the-ground situation in regard to how it is impinging upon the economics of the district. Of course, a project like this and even the NCAVES project, which we are implementing with UNSD and MOSPI, is facing a lot of barriers, and I think we'll also face similar kind of barriers for the JEF7 project also. You will all agree that at this stage, in not only in India, in most of the countries, there is limited integration of natural capital accounting and adoption of CR methodologies into India's national and state policy, budgets and institutional mechanisms. A lot of work needs to be done in this regard, and I think MOSPI's work, which they have taken up under this project, has actually addressed this issue squarely, and we've progressed quite substantially over the last 3 years in this regard. There's also inadequate knowledge and capacity in integrating these values into development planning, and I think that's the vision for the future, where we would be in a position to say that, for example, the economic survey that comes out before the budget is talking about these values, or the budget and the planning exercise that happens is able to take these values into account while they are computing the budget and various issues relating to financial planning in this country. Lack of partnerships, awareness and acceptance of NC among key stakeholders to enable a blue economy growth model certainly would be one big challenge, and we are seeing how we can mitigate this in Kerala and Karnataka when we go down to the district level to address this issue. And these are some challenges which we feel would be facing in this regard. Next. I'll quickly go through this. I've said enough of this project, but this project is basically to target blue economic growth and enhanced mainstreaming in the coastal sea landscapes and sectors at district level. That is the reason we are looking at Karnataka and Kerala. Highlight the externalities to natural capital of economic development. We certainly would like this project to build on the project that MOSPI is implementing right now with UNST and UNEP, and we see a lot of value in building upon the work already done. And this forum will bring in a lot of thoughts and ideas which can be built upon, and we'll try to see that the GEF 7 project also is a continuation of the work being done rather than being implemented in a silo. We were initially looking at the Ministry of Shipping and the Sagarmala and Rebuild Kerala initiative sites for possible natural capital accounting pilots. But over a period of last 6 to 8 months in consultations, we have realized this area might not be most suitable. And we are now re-looking at this along with the GEF Secretariat to see if in Karnataka and Kerala, we could look at also some of the wetlands and ecosystems which could be used as the pilot. This also fits in very well with the fact that India is the president for UNCCD and UNCMS, the CMS COPs, the Combating Desertification and the Convention for Migratory Species during this year and the next. And I think it fits in very well with the scope of the presidency also. Next. So we are, as I said, our idea is to work very closely with MOSPI and also build on this project, which is ongoing right now. And certainly, technically, we would be looking at the SIA-based accounts initially to work on that accounts and also the satellite accounts in the sectors of tourism, agriculture, including fisheries. And of course, the NCA analysis will also be part of the experience that has been gained in this project. I think we also look at partnerships and possible areas of support and collaboration with MOSPI in this project on the national data portal for Karnataka and Kerala. Reconsider also the NES grids, for example, with partnering with World Bank supported national data portal, and we'll see if these can be included. Build upon the NCAVES baseline and pilots, which is certainly going to be the starting point. And we'll look forward to MOSPI's guidance and support in this regard to support the GEF project. Next. Another area which we've been working on, and I mentioned right in the beginning, is the TEEB Agri-Food project, the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity. This is an approach which UNEP brought on the table a few years back and is gaining a lot of traction in some of the countries where it is being implemented. We started with the TEEB Agri-Food project in India last year, where India was selected to be part of the TEEB project. And we are looking forward to seeing how this project can also benefit from the work that is going on under NCAVES and also the work that will happen under GEF 7. This project was launched last year, funded by the EU. The project applies systems thinking to the economics of food and agriculture to make the dependencies and impacts that the agri-food value chain has on nature visible to decision makers. There's also a project national steering committee with Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare and Ministry of Environment as the co-chairs. The project focus is on agroforestry and organic farming in Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. This was an area which both the ministries wanted to explore in the Gangetic Basin. And that was the reason Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand were chosen. And we are right now in the process of finalizing a few districts in both the states along the Ganges to look at agroforestry and organic farming. And we are certain that the Team Agri-Food can draw very important information from data derived from the SIA accounts, and we'll be working closely with MOSPI also on this. Next. We were also asked to identify some areas for future action for NCA, and I think the very important landmark decision and outcome that's coming out of this forum is what was announced on 21st, that MOSPI would be coming up with a strategy by June end on natural capital accounting, and I think that is a very, very big outcome out of this, and I think a decision like that also necessitates that an institutional mechanism is also thought about, the architectural structure for implementing that strategy, and also building quality standards for implementing that strategy, establishing a knowledge management system for decision making. And also, I think what we'll need to do is to prioritize some sectors for looking at various accounts as a pilot initially, and ecosystem extent and condition accounts to monitor desertification and land degradation could certainly be an area which we should be looking at, because as I said, given India's COP presidency for UNCCD, also a very important element is that 1st January 2021, the UN has launched the Decade of Ecosystem Restoration and Biodiversity. And as a result, I think natural capital accounting work in these areas assumes a far greater importance now. Next. My last slide is support to MOSPI. Of course, we are UNEP committed to working with the Government of India, and in this regard with MOSPI and the Ministry of Environment and Forests and Climate Change. And we would like to support the scale up of NCA. Karnataka NCAVES pilot has made some progress, and more work is needed to have consistent methodology at national level. We'll be happy to work with MOSPI. Mechanisms for collaboration and user outreach certainly would be an area where we would be working with them. And certainly trying to build a community of practice, which will be very, very useful. And I think ultimately I'll end that our vision, and I'm sure MOSPI's vision and what we've been discussing with them is that in the near future, we are all able to see national budget, which is announced in the Parliament, as it is going to be done on 1st February. In a couple of years, we have a budget that takes on board, on the table, the whole system of natural capital accounting as one mechanism for formulating that budget. And I think if we are able to reach that stage, that it would be a dream come true for all of us who are working on this. Thanks a lot for giving us this opportunity, and I look forward to good discussions on this topic. Thank you.
Ashish sir, please unmute yourself.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Mr. Bagai, for giving this in the on the work which the UNEP is doing in India, especially under the JEF other projects which are taking to definitely improving the quality of accounts which we are in the MOS government, and this would be definitely put to use in making. Now I have with me Mr. Makoto Shimizu. He is the head at present of the Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific at the institute last December, and I would request Mr. Shimizu, who has a rich experience from the Bureau and also in the ministry, in the cabinet and the cabinet secretariat and other places, and also he was heading a training institution there. So he had a long experience in the capacity development of the statistical and other government professionals. So I would request him to give his perspective, what in the SIAP are going to do the next couple of years, and how they can help and participate in the NCAVES project. Mr. Shibuzu, please.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you very much for inviting me and highlighting on this important area, capacity building. Please wait a minute for my presentation file be prepared. Well, firstly, I'd like to overview our activities, and at the end, I'd like to express my expectations to MOSPI. SIAP was established in 1970. Last year, we celebrated 50th anniversary. SIAP is one of the institutes of SCAP of the UN. And we have two missions. One is training of government officials on official statistics. The second, we are monitored by the Governing Council. Governing Council is composed of 9 countries, including Japan as a host country and India. Our activities are following to strategic plan, which have been updated once in 5 years. Now, 2020 to 2024 strategic plan is running. Every year, we are compiling work program and financial plan. All those plans are approved by the Governing Council. We have a lot more supporters. They support us financially and in kind. For example, providing resource persons, venues for training. Governments are major stakeholders of us. International organizations and universities support us. Regional organizations, sub-regional institutes, research institutes are helping us. Recently, training modes have been changed under the pandemic. Now, all of the training are virtual modes, e-learning and webinars. Until 2019, we organized face-to-face trainings composed of long training, longer than 1 month, and short training within a week. Short training is composed of regional training, sub-regional training, and country-focused training. We are focusing on 4 areas. First, for SDGs, we are overviewing goals, targets, and indicators in the training. We deliver training on disaggregation by data and statistics. For IT-related fields, we deliver training on big data, GIS, and also deliver training on methodologies to monitor those data, such as satellite, scanner data, web scraping. And also we hold training for higher level officials, trainers. Today we completed training of trainers on phone survey, and we are planning to organize a gender statistics training. For COVID-19, we organize a training on health statistics, and the national statistical system needs to be transformed. So we organized a webinar in December last year for building NSS better. Environmental statistics is very important field of training. We organized face-to-face training every year from 2016 to 2019. Recently, we organized a lot of webinars. Webinars are included in e-learning courses. Materials of e-learning courses are stocked in the learning management system in the website of SIAP and UNSDG Learn. Also, some materials are translated in Russian for training in countries in the Central Asia. Recently, environmental statistics training are delivered in the e-learning modes. Last year, we organized training on introduction to SIA and energy statistics and energy accounts. Now, climate change indicators training are running. 586 officials entered this course. For the second role of us, Network for the Coordination of Statistical Training in Asia and the Pacific was established based on the recommendation of SCAP Committee on Statistics. The roles of the network are to identify priorities, share information, and review implementation. 13 countries are network members. Those countries have the capacity to deliver training to officials in other countries as well as in their own countries. 30 international organizations and regional and sub-regional organizations are also members of the network. I congratulate on the great performance of MOSPI for NCA. Based on our experience on capacity building, I hope MOSPI will develop indicators for SDGs. There are 4 indicators related to SEER. They should be developed, including disaggregation for monitoring indicators for goals which need to be attained by 2030. And for capacity building, I hope MOSPI will develop capacity building on environmental statistics. For example, training in India, a lot more training will be organized using materials created by SIAP, if necessary, translated in local languages. And as a network member, MOSPI will implement training for countries in South Asia and taking advantage of the great performance. I hope MOSPI will share good experience like this forum all over the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shimizu. We call him Shimizu-san. So I hope, I think a lot of work is being done on the environment statistics and supporting the SIA in the SIAP. And there has been a collaboration with the UNEP. And about 10 e-learning programs are planned to be developed during this year. And I hope MOSPI will have an access to those programs, and especially to the areas where these projects are being taken up, so that there's a sensitization and capacity development for those people who are getting involved in the projects. Thank you so much, Shimizu-san, for being kind and sharing the information and agreeing to be part and supportive of the project. Now you move to the next panelist. India is starting its collaboration with the World Bank under the National Program for Improvement of the Quality of Statistics in India. This project has to improve the quality, efficiency, and user relevance of statistics produced by the ministry. This is to optimize use of existing data for increased evidence-based decision-making, and also, I hope, exploring new data sets for their use in the official statistical system. I understand that this project has three main components: improving survey quality, survey data quality, making most of the existing data available, and then enhance the user relevance of published statistics. I understand Mr. Kemper in the first session has said that compiling of accounts is very important, and he emphasized that there is a need for communication and outreach. Now we look forward to listening to Thomas Daniel Witz on how he sees MOSPI's response to this policy requirement of producing environmental accounts to ensure its sustainability. May I request Mr. Thomas to please make his presentation. Mr. Thomas, please.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes,
yes, please
thank
go
you.
ahead.
Thank you. So I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I have some talking points that I'd like to deliver. So my name is Thomas Danielewicz, and I'm a task team leader with the World Bank working on statistical capacity building projects in the South Asia region. And I lead a $30 million project to support reforms and modernization initiatives in MOSPI to improve quality of statistics. First, let me thank MOSPI for inviting me to be on this panel. Let me also thank the chair, Mr. Kumar, and my fellow panelists and the ladies and gentlemen participating. It's my pleasure to be here, and I hope to contribute to the discussion on the future of environmental statistics in India and how the World Bank can provide support to this important initiative. Let me start by saying that the World Bank is fully committed to supporting the development of the statistical system in India, including the system of environmental economic accounting. Environmental accounting is an incredibly important area of statistics that has the attention of policymakers at both the national and international level. The part of the SEEA that deals with ecosystems is becoming a proper statistical standard. It used to be experimental, but is now being finalized, and it will be considered at the UN Statistical Commission meeting in March as an international statistical standard complete with guidelines and recommendations. And so this is a strong signal from the international community that the environment is important and that it must be measured and accounted for, and that those data should be used for policy. Every country on the planet will have to consider, if they want to do something about their environment, then they have to do something first about the evidence base. They need to have information on the state of the environment. And that's what the SEEA can provide. It's all about measuring the living environment and measuring the services it provides us with. It's the only framework that can make the link between the environment and socioeconomic statistics. There's already a strong precedent for environmental accounting linked to economy through the SEEA Central Framework. Now we're moving to the more difficult task of measuring ecosystems. India has already made a lot of important experimental forays into this area, which is a very good starting point for the future work. The World Bank has been providing technical support for some years now through the WAVES program, and we're pleased to see what the team at MOSPI has accomplished in the past year. Once again, the team has published a very important edition of the ENVI stats, and MOSPI has made great strides through the NCAVES project, having produced important accounts for water and mineral assets, accounts for land cover and forests, quality accounts for soil and water, and ecosystem service accounts for cropland and nature-based tourism. These are all significant achievements and a testament to the commitment and capabilities of Dr. Banumati and her team at MOSPI. As has already been mentioned, there's a new detailed strategy for future development of the system of environmental economic accounts in the works, and this will be an important strategy for future work, as we've already discussed, and we're very much looking forward to that strategy. As I said, the bank has supported this work, and we're committed to continuing our support for the next phase of the work. The World Bank Board of Directors has approved a $30 million investment loan to support the National Program for Improving Quality of Statistics in India, which aims to modernize and develop statistics across a host of different statistical areas. One of the priority areas of the project is to expand the series of natural capital accounts into new domains that will help policymakers address pressing information needs. But the overall World Bank project is also addressing other important capabilities that are relevant to environmental statistics, such as technology for data collection and processing, making better use of existing data, and integrating data from different sources, as well as strengthening user relevance of data and dissemination practices. So we're very much looking forward to supporting this important work in the coming years. Now, I'd like to make 5 points that I think are important for the future work, not necessarily linked to specifically which ecosystems should be selected for the next work, but more what are the different areas that we see must be focusing on and the types of capabilities that need to be developed to really and truly become effective in this area. So point number 1 is on user engagement. The user is where everything starts when you produce statistics. First, statisticians need to identify what are the requirements. And the requirements come from the users. So who are the users of these data among government and non-government sector, in academia, among businesses and households? Who are the users and what do they need? What are the users for policy? So MOSPI needs to get a broad overview of their user base and manage those users proactively, as they are the main customers of these services. And I know there's already a community of practice that is being set up, and this is a great step in the right direction. It cannot be overemphasized. User needs should be driving whatever MOSPI does, and therefore users should be consulted at every step of the way. The second point I'd like to make is on automation. Studies such as the Karnataka study that was presented earlier in this series of events is incredibly impressive and very useful, but it's also time-consuming and expensive. So there's a need to think about how to automate data collection and data processing once the pilot studies have been done. Just today, there was an article in the Economic Times of India about automation in statistical production. This is very important. The production process for official statistics are traditionally quite slow, especially at the experimental stage. So it must be considered already at the design phase of the pilot how this can eventually become a more automated process. What are the systems that need to be put in place? And what are the business processes? And these need to be agreed and documented so that they can be followed and the process can become more automatic and more efficient. My third point is on a big project that MOSPI is implementing. It's called the National Integrated Information Platform. And so with the acronym of NIIP. And the NIIP is intended to be the main data dissemination platform for statistics in the future. So there's a need to think about how to format, standardize, and present the environmental accounts and the key time series data, and how that can be integrated into the platform so that users can get access to downloading the data they need in an easy way, with visualizations and also bulk downloads of data so that they can do their own analysis if they're interested. The third big push that we are working on with MOSPI is on data integration. It's a big focus area for MOSPI and World Bank support. Data integration has great potential to add value to data. The SEEA framework itself emphasizes linkages between the environment and the economy. Environmental statistics is also closely linked to geography, as we've seen in many of the presentations. It is a subject matter area that is perfect for geospatial visualizations. And so it would be a great opportunity to also develop geospatial statistical capabilities in MOSPI as these accounts are developed. And here there might be a need to engage in partnerships with other organizations in India that already have those geospatial capabilities. My fourth point is on quality control and vetting. So as MOSPI moves from experimental accounts to more core statistics, more rigor might be needed. When accounts are experimental, there's usually a bit more latitude in which sources and methods that are applied. When moving to what we call official statistics, sources and methods need to be meticulously discussed, agreed, and recorded. And once those methods and sources have been established, then quality control systems should be built and applied. This is what statisticians excel at, and this is another big focus area going forward. Now, my final point is on advocacy and dissemination. So this 3-day event that we're currently engaged in is very important to spread awareness of environmental statistics and to create a dialogue among users and producers of statistics. But we think there's a need to get out to an even bigger audience, and there's a need to think creatively about how to do that. For instance, the environmental accounts that are now being created could, for instance, become educational curriculum in schools in environment and geography, in primary schools, secondary and high schools, maybe even at university level. There will be great potential in raising awareness and knowledge if statistics on biodiversity, ecosystems, natural resources, and environmental services could become part of the curriculum. So that's another thing to think about, and something that the World Bank would be very keen on supporting if MOSPI should be interested in exploring that further. Let me stop there and thank you once again. Over to you, Mr. Kumar.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for very important, critical 5 points which you have made at the end of your presentation. And I think this is what MOSPI should look forward to doing, because especially the statistical literacy is one issue which is very important to carry a message along, as you said, rightly said, in the schools, curricula, and all over the places, that people should start appreciating, understanding, and using statistics more creatively. Thank you so much for those very insightful things. Now I'll request each of the panelists to again bother you with one simple question, although it looks simple, but it's not always simple. That are there any specific points you want to reiterate? You have given a very good perspective. Only we want a very little out of it, so that when MOSPI comes out with a strategic plan or a strategy and the plan, they do not miss it out. So I hope you would be able to reflect on whatever has been said by everybody, and would be able to guide the ministry, what should be the high priority area. So 2 points. So should I start with Mr. Bagai? Atul, can you please?
Yeah, thank you, Ashishji, and thanks to all the presenters for excellent presentations. We learned a lot from that, and I think it will be good for us to align our efforts with the SEPA and the bank. And Thomas, we should talk offline to see how we can connect on this. On the question, Ashishji, that you said, meaning I would like to reiterate what I said also in my presentation, that the strategy is certainly a very big step and a very big outcome of this NCAVES forum. And if we want that strategy to work and to be implemented and to be mainstreamed into policy, we need the support of Ministry of Finance completely. And I think there is a need to work very closely with them. And I think another big step that MOSPI has recently done of setting up the Scientific and Technical Committee under the chairmanship of Sanjeev Sanyal is a very big step towards that mainstreaming. So I think that mainstreaming is the key to whatever work is happening under various efforts by World Bank or by UNEP or by SEPA and various other partners.
Thank you so much, Atulji, for excellent guidelines. May I request Mr. Shimizu, please, can you tell us 2 important things should be included in the strategy?
Thank you, moderator. We are training institutes. We will create sophisticated e-learning courses and webinars and training curriculums, and try to read countries. So I hope we will be able to create standardized models of training curriculums. And another important thing is we will hold training for trainers. Through our training, a lot more officials will be able to gain knowledge how to train others. So it's important for us to deliver higher level training, which should be modeled all over the world. This is my thinking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shimizu-san, for your reflections. May I now request Thomas, what you have already made your points, 5 points, but do you want to give some guidance on the strategy? I understand that 2 important things which all we have been struggling with. The statistics is a lot of challenge everywhere, but still for this strategy, 2 points. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so I'm not going to repeat my 5 points. I think those are all important points to think about when the strategy is being developed. And I agree with what has been said by others that the strategy is going to be incredibly important for the work going forward. I think I will just reduce it to just 1 point in addition to that, and that is the importance of consultations. And that is something that Dr. Bhanumati and her team in MOSPI is already very good at. This event here, 3-day event we've had in January, is already a very great testament to the outreach and consultations that MOSPI are taking in this area. And we're just hoping that that will continue. There's a lot of goodwill out there in the community, in government, but also outside of government, and in the international community. And I'm very encouraged by all the words of support that we've heard today, including from our friends and colleagues in the UN system. And the World Bank, of course, is very, very interested and supportive of this initiative, and we will continue our support going forward. So let me stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Thomas. This is this great advice, and I know Bhanumati has been doing a great job and consultation, because this is especially NCAVES and the area of national resource accounting is an area which requires a lot of action. Other specialists. It is not confined to the statisticians. It is not confined to the typical social or economic methods. It is a lot of interaction. So it is basically an area where you have experts from different disciplines which come together in building up and developing these kind of accounts. But what happened in accounts, if I remember, started with experimental accounts and then evolved into a full set of accounts which the India has started producing. And this is the process which will take place, as everybody shared today. We start with the experimental account, we start with the initial accounts, then we keep adding more and more accounts, bring more and more practitioners into it, and develop a community for that, and then develop a regular system which gets a regular official statistical system. So we are to that, and I thank each one of you, the panelists, for having contributed excellently to this conversation. And I hope we will be able to come with a very good strategy document, which we will be able to share across, and with the in consultation and then final version, again, I think we will all have an opportunity to look at. And I would again like to thank the team of the ministry for having organized this. This is very important, because sharing of the ideas and sharing of experience and sharing of knowledge is the key to further progress. So I would again thank Bhanumati and her team, and all the people in the Ministry of Statistics, the Director Generals, and many others who have been, and the Secretary Ministry of Statistics who have been very kind in agreeing to organize this kind of forum, which is very important. So thank you so much. Over to the team there in the ministry.
Thank you to all the speakers for the wonderful discussions, enlightening us on the various initiatives being taken that could support the work of the environmental accounting by MOSPI in India. I'm sure we all have thoroughly grasped the rich flow of knowledge we witnessed here at this forum. Imbibing these would help us in planning for a better environment, better tomorrow. I now request DG Statistics, Dr. Shelja Sharma, to give her closing remarks for the forum. Ma'am.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of you. So as all good things come to an end, so has this forum. And we have had very rich discussions on the 14th, 21st, and 28th, and I'm sure many of you have attended all the sessions. We are very sure in MOSPI that each one of us will now have a better understanding about the concepts of the ecosystems and their services and the environmental accounts. The forum was really the first of its kind, and this has initiated the right ambience for the creation of awareness among the environmental aspects. And MOSPI did kind of think of holding it so that others can also be sensitized and the work is mainstreamed into the work of the ministry, and we are able to kind of reach somewhere. Having said that, I would like to also highlight and say that the environmental issues are kind of not new to this country, and the Constitution of India way back in 1950 had already said, and the directive principles of the state policy, they say they have a commitment of the state to protect the environment with regard to the forests and wildlife, and which enjoin upon the citizens of India the special responsibility to protect and improve the environment. And here we now in MOSPI, we are taking that forward. And of course, we are concretizing it with the help of numbers and data and seeing that how much we are kind of preserving, conserving it, and where do we actually want to reach. The forum provided all of us the rich exposure by listening to all the eminent speakers, panelists. On the one hand, they have motivated us and boosted our morale, while on the other, they have helped us finding a way for future action. This reminds me of the famous saying by Albert Einstein, only those who attempt the absurd can achieve the impossible. And really, when we see how these ecosystems, they really have to be valued, it's not an easy task. We have been discussing this in all our sessions, but still, where there is a will, there is a way, and we do intend to move forward and do expect that, yes, we will be reaching our goal. So even in the present times, having a complete set of accounts might appear to be a very Herculean and a difficult task, but the constant perseverance and attempts in the right direction can help us achieve the task. In this effort, we are privileged that we have the support of international, national, and all the state level organizations. Their technical guidance, data, and inputs have added to our zeal to move towards the goal with an accelerated speed. It is my pleasure to inform you that the forum has witnessed almost 900 participants, which really tells us that how much interest there is of this topic and people want to kind of be involved in it and also contribute, discuss, and see how we can move forward. As the panelists were saying, that yes, it is a difficult task. We have to, even Mr. Atul Bagai was saying that we may have data problems. It is difficult, but definitely it is not impossible, and we will move forward and we'll see how we can kind of get the data and work on it. The recordings of all the sessions will be available on the forum site, and the forum site has been created specially with a view to have all the relevant materials at a common place, and this will aid the process of peer learning and further improvement. So I would request all of you to kind of keep visiting it. NSO India is also planning to put in place a structured approach to facilitate peer learning process by collaborating with people from diverse spheres such as government, academia, private parties, etc. We understand that as statisticians, our role is to provide good quality data to cater to the needs of policymakers, which will continue our endeavor for the same. We also realize that we should also be capitalizing on the wealth of information being created by businesses, researchers, academia, and administrative data systems. We look forward to all of us working together to make nature's value visible. There was a session also where we were discussing that how we can make use of big data apart from the administrative data and how it has to be integrated in our data systems now. And we in India have started the process of compilation of the environmental accounts, but there is a huge scope for enhancing the coverage. In order to have an improved coverage and to advance towards the compilation of the complete set of accounts in the internationally agreed SIA framework in a focused manner, we are planning to have a strategy document for environmental economic accounts for India very soon and release it after consultations with all the stakeholders. Here, I would also like to kind of mention what Thomas from the World Bank was mentioning about having a user base, use of technology, data integration, quality concerns, dissemination and dialogue between producers and users of statistics. And I'm sure that after having attended all the 3 sessions, all of us agree that all the 5 processes have already been initiated in MOSPI, and we are working towards that. We would continue to make efforts in the direction of making the environmental accounts more prominent and visible so that they can play a vital role in the decision-making process. I'm sure in the near future, many such forums and webinars would take place, and we would have the chance of meeting each one of you in person, physically, at some point of time, which in the first session I was also saying that it would have been great had we all met physically. But since these are different times, so we have been kind of interacting virtually, and this forum also, though held virtually, was very successful with so many participants, and maybe with in the form of if it was in virtual mode, and so many more people could attend and kind of be sensitized to the topic. And before I close, I just cannot stop congratulating, appreciating the very hard work of my team here in Mospi, Bhanumati, Sudipta, Ruchi, Alok, Krishna, and there are so many others under the able guidance of Avdesh Mishraji, who's the Additional Director General. I can tell you that they have not worked 24/7, but they have worked 48/7, because it was a very difficult task, and kind of they have somehow managed to hold this forum in a very short time, and I really congratulate them for that. And I also thank all the participants, the panelists, the speakers for giving their insights on the topic, which was very much required. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. So before we declare the close of the NCAVES India Forum, I request Mr. Avdesh Kumar Mishra, ADG, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, to propose the formal vote of thanks. Sir.
Namaskar. As the forum is coming to its close, it's our duty to propose a formal vote of thanks. To begin with, we would like to thank European Union, United Nations Statistics Division, UNEP, CBD for the successfully leading the project, NCAVES, right from its very inception to the final stage. We are grateful to these organizations for providing guidance and support, which helped us in achieving each milestone of the project. The participation of Honorable Ministers of Statistics, of Environment, and Minister of State for Environment in this forum shows that the highest level commitment for the environmental concerns and the ways to remedy the problems that arise in the wake of industrial development. So I'm very grateful to Rao Indrajit Singh, Honorable Minister of Statistics and Program Implementation, for supporting all our efforts to organizing this event. Sir, your vision and guidance has always helped us. And for this endeavor also, your guidance has been very pivotal and critical. Thank you so much. We would also like to place on record our deep sense of gratitude for Honorable Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Sri Prakash Javadekar ji, for sparing his valuable time to address this forum, and his words of motivation and enlightenment towards environmental conservation. They will guide us in approaching the right ways to address the issues of environment and environment accounting in particular. I also thank Babal Supriyoji, Honorable Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, for his support and guidance towards making the nature's values visible. The support and cooperation received from the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change throughout the phase of this project has been very critical and has helped us well towards making a concrete progress. The insightful address by His Excellency Mr. Ugo Astuto, Ambassador of EU, complementing Mospi's effort in the direction of national capital accounting, has boosted our morale and motivated us in our journey towards compiling a complete set of environmental accounts in India. The presence of Ms. Inger Anderson, Executive Director UNEP, Ms. Eliot Harris, Chief Economist of UN, and Ms. Elizabeth Brema, Executive Secretary CBD, has reinforced our commitment towards providing the right information at the right time. We are extremely delighted by the presence of Ms. Renata Desalin, UN Resident Coordinator, for her address during the forum. As you pointed out, measuring the human and planetary well-being in addition to measuring capitals, because it is only by this way that mainstreaming of natural accounts is possible and concept of holistic growth and development can be concretized. We acknowledge the efforts of the experts from the international community, such as Mr. Stephen Swinfest, Director USD, Ms. Sushan Gardner, Director UNP, Ms. Karen Erika Kemper, Director World Bank, Ms. Bert Cross, Chair, UN Committee of Experts Environment Accounting, and Ms. Gemma Van Helderen, Director UNESCAP, who joined our forum and gave us valuable advice on the way forward. Our sincere thanks are due to Mr. Atul Bagai, Country Director UNEP, Mr. Makoto Shimuzu from CIAP, Mr. Thomas Danielvis, World Bank, and Mr. Vlad Truska from UNFCCC for their suggestions on the prospects of the natural capital accounting in India. Our heartfelt gratitude to Professor Vijay Raghavan, K. Vijay Raghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor, Dr. Sanjeev Sanyal, Principal Economic Advisor, Mr. Ram Mohan Johri, Director General Government Accounts, Ms. Chavi Jha, Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Ms. Seema Arora from CII, Mr. Ajay Mathur from TERI, who have highlighted the range of topics under the environment accounting that are required for decision making. We do realize that our roles and responsibilities in the statistical community has grown to a larger level, and we look forward towards collaborating with all stakeholders for achieving all this. We are immensely thankful to state governments who have also showed their interest in the domain of the environment accounting, especially states of Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Rajasthan. Their experiences have showcased the percolation of natural capital accounting at a more granular level. Our thanks are due for the experts from the Indian official agencies such as National Remote Sensing Center, Forest Survey of India, Soil and Land Use Survey of India, National Biodiversity Authority, Wildlife Institute of India, World Resource Institute India, Wetlands International for sharing their experiences with during this forum and for their very rich presentations on various facets of the economic accounting. We look forward to working with you with enhanced level of cooperation. The whole event, the organization of this forum would not have been possible without the support of the ministry, and we are very grateful to our dynamic secretary of the ministry, Dr. Chhatrapati Shivaji. He has always shown keen interest in the subject matter and has been very encouraging towards every initiative that we have undertaken, including organization of this forum. Thank you, sir, for your immense cooperation and guidance. Our gratitudes to Mr. Praveen Srivastava, the previous Chief Statistician of India, who has been instrumental for starting this project, initiating this project. His motivation and guidance and his presence, even this forum, has been very instrumental and very motivating for us. And we are thankful to Mr. Ashish Kumarji, ex-DG MOSPI, for laying the very initial steps to our environmental accounting in India and by constitution of this third group for the purpose. Environment could not have, this event could not have been possible without the dynamic leadership of our DG Statistics, Dr. Sailaja Sharma. Her continuous guidance has been always motivating us and keeping us glued to the goal and towards our efforts for the environmental accounting as well. She has been at the forefront of development of the environmental accounting from the very beginning and has led the division in the past. So her guidance has been very critical, and she continues to guide us. We from the division side, we are very thankful to her. We are also thankful to Madam Dr. Mamta Saxena, Director General Coordination Administration, and Mr. Abraham P. Johnson, DG Survey, for their presence and being part of the event and supporting us during the various stages of the project. Our thanks are also due to the members of the Inter-Ministerial Group on Environmental Accounting in India and all divisions of Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Ministry of Jal Shakti, NRSC, and also other line ministries and departments. We are thankful to Synthesized Network, who have developed the portal for us, and we are thankful to NITI for their support, logistic support for organizing this forum at this venue. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all experts for sharing their knowledge with us. and who have posted their video messages on the portal, which will be a reference material for the concerned people. NCAVES project in India was a journey full of challenges and discoveries. To support us in this journey was the project team, Alessandra Alferi and Bam Adams from UNSD, William Speller from UNEP, and also the teams at the Indian Institute of Science, led by Professor T.V. Ramchandra, Victoria University, Wellington, Altos Impact and Effect. We are sure that NCAVES project would lead to several activities on the ground with the common objective of creating a rich inventory of coherent information that can enable compilation of national level accounts. The entire project and event could not have taken the shape of success without sincere and dedicated efforts of the entire team of the Social Statistics Division. The division activities led by Bhanumati ji and her able set of officers present and in the past, Bhanumati ji, Rakesh Maurya, Kajal Jain, Sudipta, Avneet, Krishna Kumar Tiwari, Alok Singh Yadav, Astha Dwivedi, Ruchi Mishra, Sonia Arora, Monica Sharma, Saurabh Rajput, Nikita Dhingra, R.K. Pawar, Kulpreet Sokhi, Nikita Kumari, Meenakshi, and a number of other officers have been taking very painstaking efforts, not only towards organization of this event, but the entire discipline, managing and taking the discipline forward, as it is an ascent activity. The vote of thanks has become rather large because the nature of the economic accounting that is nascent and involves many people and many organizations in the effort. So all is well that ends well. So I thank you once again. Thank you.